Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, welcome to the Investigative Journal. Greg Anthony here on this Friday. Going to have a great show for you. If you ever wanted to know about what separation of church and state really means, I mean, beyond what you hear from Thomas Jefferson, and I'm going to give you some of the legality behind it. You study it in law school, and I'm not going to give you a law school course today, but what I'm going to do is give you some background on what it is and really what it really is. But first, what I said at the opening of my show doesn't apply anymore. Well, it does, but it kind of gets confusing because today was a big day in the world of the Boy Scouts. I guess and the Girl Scouts too. And what happened today was girls, for the first time in the history of the Boy Scouts, can join the Boy Scouts. So we got girls able to join the Boy Scouts, but they still have the Girl Scouts. I don't think that's fair. So basically what should be fair is that the boys should be able to join the Girl Scouts. Right? Is that true today? I don't know, but I'm sure it'll be that way. And why don't we go a little farther? Why don't we let, thoroughbred horses join the Boy Scouts? Why don't we let my dog, one of my 5 dogs, let them all join the Boy Scouts? Why don't we let men in the Catholic Church who still think they're boys or play with boys join the Boy Scouts? Hell, we don't care how old you are. No. Doesn't matter anymore. And it makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. It's called Boy Scouts. I'm a boy, or a man now, but when I was a boy, I would join the Boy Scouts. I wouldn't want to join the Girl Scouts. Are you kidding me? You know how I would get... Can you imagine 30, 40 years ago, going to school in the morning and telling your friends, I just joined the Girl Scouts. Oh my goodness. You know what would happen to me? There would be an endless day of everything happening. People would start putting ants down my back in class. People would start yelling, "He's a little baby. He's a little girly." Then they'd get me on the ground and give me a pink belly. Then they'd smear all the shaving cream and stuff in my locker. Just because I wanted to join the Girl Scouts. Now guess what? What happens when a girl 40 years ago would say, I want to join the Boy Scouts? You know what would happen? The guys would go, she's a tomboy, She doesn't just play hopscotch, Get her on the baseball field. Let's see if she can hit a baseball. And when we grew up, there was always these girls who liked to do little, things that boys did, but it was pretty separate. They didn't come out and play football with us because, unfortunately, there's a difference for all of you same-sexers out there. There is a physical difference between a man and a woman, and it was set up that way by the Creator. And all I see is everybody trying to destroy what was created. A beautiful system. I mean, how else have we gotten here? And one of the more interesting things that, even though I remember I didn't like Ronald Reagan, he did say one thing about abortion. I'd like to bring in that 1 minute here. Everybody who's for abortion is funny. They were born. Isn't that interesting? Everybody who says, let people abort these babies, but they're all born. Imagine if they said that about them. I think, I had a conversation once with a baby in the womb, believe it or not. And can you imagine if the baby in the womb was one of these, feminists out there who are now saying it's okay to abort a baby in the birthing canal. It's okay in the last trimester. Hey, it's okay if the baby's born and we don't think that it's going to live very long, or we don't think it meets up to our standards. So maybe it's a little defective, born with 3 toes. I don't know. But it's very vague. But these laws that are being passed now in New York and Virginia are kind of like that. So can you imagine having a conversation with one of those women? What about Nancy Pelosi? Because I'm sure she's going to support this. There was that. Remember the Virginia governor? You guys have been following this. Come on. Just the other day, went through that rigmarole. He started saying, this guy's a doctor, governor of Virginia, pretty powerful state. Started talking about, when the baby comes out, we're going to make it comfortable, then we're going to have a discussion about what to do with it. This is he's God. What do you mean what to do with it? You take care of it. You nurture it. I don't get it. And they asked Nancy Pelosi the other day, just after this happened, the day after, what about that statement about the governor? I didn't hear it. Oh, what a lying sack of shit. She didn't hear it. She supports it. So I decided I would talk to Nancy Pelosi in the womb and see what she would say. Hi, Nancy. This is Greg. I have this remarkable ability to talk to babies in the womb. How you doing in there? Oh, I'm doing just fine. Okay, fine. Is your heart beating? Yes. How's your ears look? Fine. I'm going to be Speaker of the House, so let me out of here. Oh, don't worry. You only got about 30 days. Well, no, you got about 10 days, I hear. But they're thinking that they don't want you around. What do you mean? No. Your mother's a staunch Republican. What? Yes. They don't want you around to cause havoc. So they're thinking of aborting you because you got a malformity. Oh, it's my malformity. I got 2 feet. I got 2 hands. I'm perfectly fine. I'm going to grow up to be a beautiful woman and Speaker of the House. Well, your deformity, Nancy, is that you're going to turn out to be a liberal globalist, and we can't have you here. Oh, let me out of here. This is murder, murder, murder. Bye, Nancy. I can't do anything. Talk to your doctor and talk to your mother, because that's who's going to decide your life. Not God, not your creator. And you'll never be Speaker of the House. Oh, my God. Let's get rid of abortion. All right, that was Nancy Pelosi in the womb. And I have this incredible ability to talk to babies in the womb. Some people talk to the dead. Some people talk to, I don't know. They talk to the dead. And then some people die, and then they say they talk to the dead. So, I talk to babies in the womb, and everyone I talked to that was able to talk said they wanted to be born. Yeah, just like me and you. So, what the hell's this problem? What the hell is going on in this country, I ask you? Getting back to the Boy Scouts. So, we're back 40 years ago, and the whole thing would be crazy, because the girl who wanted to be in the Boy Scouts, her girlfriends would say, boy, she's not very, there's a difference between and boys. And still to this day, when you're an older woman or an older man, you still do the same thing you did when you were a boy and a girl, right? Now they want to change all that. They want to start you out saying, hey, you can decide if you're a boy or a girl. And if you're a girl and you want to be a Boy Scout, that's fine. If you want to be a girl and play professional football, that's fine. I say fine. If you want to play professional football, play in a girls' league. Because that's the way it is. There's a few people that, there's a girl probably right now saying, I'm going to be the first Major League Baseball girl pitcher. Oh, damn. Hey, I guess if she could throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, strike out Bryce Harper 3 times, or every time, or basically limit Bryce to a 200 batting average, she could do it. But why haven't there been any women baseball players? It's not because of discrimination or men being sexists. It's because they don't throw the baseball as hard. They don't have the same body structure. It's the way it was made. It's not our fault. I'm not going to apologize for the way a woman is made. And in fact, if you look at the bodies of men and women, Women have much more beautiful bodies. Men are more like monkeys, you know? And I'm not saying I'm a Darwinist. I'm just saying they're more utilitarian. Males have utilitarian bodies. They're made to pick up big bricks to build a house with a woman. Now, if a woman wants to be a construction worker, fine. You know, if a woman wants to be, the president of the United States, fine. That doesn't take a lot of physical ability. But if a woman wants to be in the army, fighting up front, I don't want to be in the foxhole with her. Unless she's a better shot than me. In fact, it would be kind of funny because I'd always want to protect her. There's a little bit of a deal going on. So I don't think women should be in the military fighting. I really don't. I draw the line there. But if you want to play football, fine. You're going to find that you're going to get your butt kicked most of the time. When's the last time you saw a woman play right guard for the Green Bay Packers? Okay, here's Michelle O'Leary, number 63. She's 6'9", 280 pounds. When are you going to see that? Because that's what you're going to compete against. And let me tell you something. Being a former college football player, women, you don't want to play football. I'm telling you, it's a terrible sport. I don't know. I played it because I was at that stage of my life where I needed to get out aggression, and it was a good place to do it on the football field. Then I'd go after the game, and I was as melancholy as a cup of chamomile tea. So it's not a great sport. I mean, I prefer the luxury of baseball, where you take your time. You only got to run when the ball's hit to you. And, it's short spurts of run. You don't get your head blown off by a linebacker when you're trying to run to score a touchdown. You don't get knocked out by a defensive back when you're running down the sidelines and you get turned around and the guy comes and just cleans your clock, which happened to me. I think I woke up about 2 minutes later. So, I mean, that's not a great sport. It's kind of brutal when you think about it. So why the hell do you want to play? I mean, take advantage of your womanhood. Now, if somebody asked me, I like this, so we're back 30, 40 years ago, so the women are they don't want to be men, the men don't want to be women, and, there's a line drawn. In school, there's separate bathrooms. I'm not going to go into a women's bathroom, it's too damn clean. I'd cause a mess there in a minute. You go into a woman's bathroom, it's like going into the White House green room or whatever where they wash it. I mean, it's a clean place, not meant for men. And so why do women want to go into a dirty men's bathroom? Have you ever gone in one? These unisex bathrooms, forget about it. If I was a woman, I wouldn't walk in. You might as well hold it for 24 hours. So, I mean, there's reasons for these things. I mean, besides the fact that you put a little man on the man and the woman on the woman's, and that's where you go. But now they don't want that. They want you to, first they want you to decide. So let's say 30, 40 years ago, Johnny raises his hand in class and says, I want to go to the bathroom. So he says, fine, go. Johnny goes to the bathroom and decides to pull a prank. I'm going in the woman's bathroom. So he walks in the woman's bathroom. There's 3 women in there. And then the next thing you hear are screams. Get out of here, John. Oh, my goodness. The principal comes down. He'd be, Johnny, what are you doing in the men's bathroom? We're going to take you for psychological counseling. Okay, flash forward 30 years from not right now. Johnny raises his hand. Decides to go into the woman's bathroom. He walks in there and there's 3 women and he goes, hey, don't yell. I'm a woman. And they go, okay, you're a woman. Fine. Walks out. The teacher sees him. Johnny, what the hell are you doing in the woman's bathroom? The teacher's from the old days, right? Got a little difference here in age. Well, didn't I tell you I'm a woman? I can make that choice. Okay, Johnny, you're crazy. I'm putting you, we're going to the psychological counseling. The next thing you know, the teacher's suspended for harassing this man or this boy regarding his sex. That's harassment now, PC culture. Wow, God. Give me a break. So that's what's going on now. So now the girls can join the Boy Scouts, So what the hell are you going to call it? You can't call it Boy Scouts. You got to come up with something gender neutral. And that's my challenge for you this weekend. For you to come up with the best name for the Boy Scouts now. But isn't that insane? And I don't care what your political differences are. I don't care what your religious views are. I really don't. It's just nuts. I mean, animals know what sex they are. You don't have to tell them. They don't make a choice. You know, the last thing I heard from my puppy when my puppy grew up, a female puppy, was, Greg, can I be a man? I think I'm a man. Well, you know, they know what's going on. Dogs know what's going on. Horses know what's going on. Pigs know what's going on. But human beings? My goodness. You ever talk to people now? I mean, people in our government that support this kind of stuff? And then you wonder why we're in this situation? I mean, let's put aside all the big problems. Like what we're going to talk about in a minute, the separation of church and state, what it really is and what it really is, according to Mr. Clinton. We have a world that is really moving towards a unisex kind of open borders. We're going to have one culture, one thing. It's not going to be fun. Everybody's going to be the same. Why do you want to travel to Tibet? You just have Tibet. Everybody's going to be the same. You're going to speak one language. However it started, there's some Christian views and about how God separated the people and gave them separate language so they wouldn't kill themselves, you know. And I'm saying to myself, hey, that's pretty smart. Because the happiest time of my life sometimes was when I went to Italy, didn't understand Italian, and hell, I seemed to get along with everybody. They didn't understand me, I didn't understand them, but we loved each other. Can you imagine? You know, everybody speaks the same language. Murder rates will go up 100 million times. Yeah. So whatever happened, for those of you atheists out there and for you people that don't subscribe to the Bible, whoever started this thing and created languages, separate countries was smart. It limited the amount of murders. And look how many there are. Imagine if everybody was the same. I mean, it'd be insane. You know? The reason I love going to different countries is I don't understand what the hell they're saying, but I want to see what their culture's like, you know? And it's fun. You know, like a child again. You go into a grocery store, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You know, but now it's a little easier because I can do this. Let me show you this. Okay? I can just go to Google, and Google will say something like, tell me what bread is in Spanish. And it tells me right here. It gives me the word. Sometimes they talk to you. This one didn't today. But so all you got to do is Google it. And I'm sitting there in the grocery store, and let's say I'm in, I don't know, Vietnam. Okay, what is bread and what is meat in Vietnamese? So there I go. I can get out of there. You know, then I get to the counter, and I go, oh shit, I'm going to get cheated here. I don't know what money is. I got to pay. I don't even know what the Vietnamese money is right now. Do you? So then I got to ask the computer, okay, how much is 355 chocolates or whatever it is in Vietnamese compared to dollars? And it'll tell me. I didn't get cheated. But back in the old days, holy Christ, it was tough. But we seemed to get along. But it was fun. Now you'll go all over the world with these globalists, and they want everything the same. Yeah. If you can't beat them, join them. I say this. America, if you can't stand living there anymore because of all of this chain migration, all of this catch and release programs, all of these people invading your country, get the hell, let them in, we'll go somewhere else. Yeah. Let's just find another place. Why not? I mean, come on, we can take over. Why don't we, as Americans, start a migration to, let's see how they would like it. I want to get together with 10,000 Americans today. Now we're going to all take a plane and we're going to start migrating into, I don't know, pick a country. You think they're going to, Poland. They're not going to like it. We're going to take over Poland. My God, somebody ought to take over that country. And I'm Polish. Or let's take over Russia. They wouldn't like it. I'm going to get 100,000 Americans. We're going to go migrate to Russia. Then they'll start building a wall. And Nancy Pelosi will say, hey, that's you know something? That's immoral. We can't get in. Oh, Nancy, we didn't even let you be born. Did you hear my little conversation? But anyway, I've completely taken up this first half hour with what I think is vitally important. And that is, you understand that we are screwed. We don't even know, we can't even be sure of what sex we are anymore. We don't even know what kind of place we live on. You know, some people say it's round, some people say it looks like a pear, some people say it's flat. And, you know, that's one thing I do know the truth about. And I know it because I know it. You ever meet people like that? I know it because I know it. I know, yeah, you meet a lot of Hindus that do that. Well, I know it's a tree, and I know the earth is flat. So there you go. And that's my evidence. Well, people say, you're crazy. Well, you know something? Listen to the evidence that's given regarding the way we consider the world and the universe to be. That's really bullshit when you think about it. I don't know a better word for it. We could sit here and discuss the value of gravity, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. And then they'll give me all these math figures and make me feel like a jerk. I couldn't even get through geometry class. Can you imagine me being in one of those rooms? I could do that. Do you ever see how they go? They go up there, there's a movie, or you go there and they got this big blackboard. And then they start saying, well, to figure out how to get out of the, deep space, or to go through the wormhole, or to get out of our atmosphere. And then they start writing all these X and Z's and all these. I could do that. And then at the end, I'll go, hey, that's how you do it. And they'd go, he figured it out. I'm drawing V's and little 2's and X's and Y's and what have you. That's about what it looks like. It looks like, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's the deep trouble we're in. I mean, when you start getting down to it, if we are in that big a shade, big a trouble, the rest of this stuff is, a piece of cake. And don't you think that the people that control this world, and I'm saying that's the way it is, they want you to be this way. They're confusing you. They're going to keep you up at night going, hey, am I a man or a woman? Okay, I got a kid who wants to join the Boy Scouts, and it's a girl. How can I teach her that she is a girl? So, I mean, parents, you got a big job on your hands. Back in my day, it was much easier. Everybody, if my daughter stated she was a boy, I would just say, honey, I'd have my birth certificate on hand. I'd say, what does it say? Well, it says I'm a girl, Dad. Okay. Hey, listen, I got to go to work. Have a good day at school, and don't go in the boys' bathroom. And if you join the Boy Scouts, my God, we're going to have a problem. Oh, Dad, you're terrible. All right. But anyway, tough love, right? Anyway, back, we're going to talk about church and state in the second half hour on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today. so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the Supreme Jesuit Command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This ain't happening.
Okay, I want you to know right off the top here that you're in violation of the High Supreme Jesuit Command, as I just said, or the promo just said. And boy, you better watch your step, because you can't be thinking about these things. You cannot be talking about these things, and it's not right. You're not a good American if you start criticizing the obvious, that it's the Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order, and all of the crap I talked about in the first half hour is a part of it. Yes, is a part of it. They want to unisex you. Just like in the old days when the Greek gods and all these people didn't have any sexes, they're doing the same damn thing. That's why you're seeing pedophilia skyrocket. I mean, didn't we learn a lesson with that case in Boston, when the, the Spotlight magazine in the Boston Globe found an incredible number of priests that are pedophiles, and the kind of that culture is there. And they documented it pretty well, just in Cardinal Law he left. But anyway, didn't we learn a lesson? That was just one city. And then if you start looking at statistics, it's all over the world. And they say, some big organization did a study, they say 6% of all priests are pedophiles. I think the number is higher. So, I mean, why do we allow them to have schools? I mean, hell with the bathrooms. Why don't we kick the Catholics out? I mean, why not? Catholics, you ask yourself a question. Are you worried about your child getting raped in a Catholic school? But how come you only hear of it, when you'll hear these priests, and then all of a sudden it goes away, because many times in the past, and probably still goes on today, attorneys will be hired, they'll do everything out of court, and then they do a little settlement, and then everything's sealed. There's no records in the court, right? And remember that case in Boston, the attorney that had maybe 30, he was an Armenian attorney, and he had maybe 30 clients, and he filed, he went to court, filed it, and he did some motions, And if you get into law in motion, you'll know what I mean. This guy say, no, I propose this, I got to reply to that. Well, on one of his motions, he put on a number of attachments which really nailed cardinal law to the fence post, because law knew about this years ago and did nothing. And guess what the court did? The clerk or somebody, they hid those. So if you open that file, which is public record, they weren't there. Well, the Boston Globe got them anyway. And in fact, that's an interesting case if you go back to it. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many of these that never get talked about. And many of these we've talked about on my show. Victims that, and people that have been killed, that send, relatives talk about. We talk about things that, like the murder of a baby underneath the church, and it was witnessed by somebody, and the witness went to the police and they didn't do a damn thing. There's no statute of limitations on murder. However, there is, in fact, remember that easy statute in Boston where, the statute of limitation, the church had a lot to do with setting the statute of limitation at 3 years or something on pedophilia. So you got to get over that hurdle. I don't know if it's probably been changed since then. So there should be no statute of limitations on pedophilia, because a lot of times people young kids that get abused are afraid to talk, and they don't talk till years later. So we got to get rid of that. It's crazy, but the church has a big deal in that. They don't want that to happen. So it's a really evil organization, cut and dry. It's not a few bad apples. So there's a good example of an intermingling of church and state, which is really not mentioned in the Constitution, right? Never, never, never mentioned. People got to understand that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it because it's important. Yesterday we talked about church and state being intermingled with a man by the name of a Jesuit priest by the name of Father Edmund Walsh, who was actually a CIA deep operative. And if you don't believe me, go to my show yesterday. I mean, I can't categorically say it, but there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that points to that direction. More evidence than the fact that Trump cohorted or colluded with the Russians. Collusion, folks, is not a crime, by the way. It is not a crime. Politicians do it all the time on both sides of the fence. I mean, you know my position here on this show. I don't support Trump. I don't support any of the people because they all work together. And I'm fighting a bigger cause, and that is the people, the puppets. They're puppets. I'm fighting the puppet masters and trying to figure out who the hell they are. That's a tough road. But we've done pretty good here, I have to say. Out of all the shows on the internet, I think we're right there, And we have few listeners. And the reason is, my intro in the second half hour explains it pretty well. The High Jesuit Command doesn't want it. And they don't come out and call me and say, hey, Greg, you can't do this. But try to get this show on the air in a place where I could make some good money. And people say, well, why do you want to make good money? I say, well, I'd like to eat. Okay. So then a person emailed me, yesterday, by the way, and said, Greg, why don't you do a podcast? And I said, why? And they said, well, you can make some money at it. I said, oh, really? How? I said, okay, I'll do it along with the 10 million other podcasts. So if somebody has a secret, one of my loyal listeners, contact me. You can help me form a podcast or some way we can make some dinero on this to make it worthwhile, and I'll split things with you. Come on, put your money where your mouth is and see if you want to get this message out to people. Maybe you're smarter than me. I have a hard time promoting myself because, because I like to be poor. No, come on. I'm not going to get rich anyway. It's not a game of poor and rich. It's a game of getting the word out there. And the more you talk about it, the more people know. For example, 10, 15 years ago when I was on RBN, GCN, I used to have thousands of listeners a day. And that turns into thousands of dollars a week. Yeah, pretty good. But when you have 50 listeners, it turns into 35 cents a week. So it becomes like a hobby, something that you can't get rid of. I keep every morning, I wake up, I'm not doing this damn thing again. but I seem to do it. But anyway, so if any listeners out there know how to make a blog for me and want to get involved, and you have the courage to fight the Jesuit High Command, contact me at Greg Beacon, GregBeacon @gmail.com. Okay, separation of church and state. Now, this was first paraphrased from Thomas Jefferson and used by others in expressing an understanding of the intent and function of the Establishment Clause and Free Exercise Clause of the United States, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And I can read that to you at a later time, but the question rises, when you talk about church and state, is it ever really mentioned in the Constitution? The answer is no. No. And remember I told you the Vatican had a big deal like with Lorenzo Ricci writing this thing, so they didn't want to put in there churches, specifically what churches can't do. And I'm not, look, if you're Catholic and you haven't listened to my show and you think I'm a Catholic basher, I don't want, Christians, you're just as bad. And I mean Bible-believing Christians, Jews, the whole works. I'm not here to want a Christian country with Christian values. I'm not here to want a Muslim country with Muslim values. I'm not here to want a Catholic country with Catholic values, or an atheist or a pagan country with pagan values, although we have Catholicism and paganism intermixed in our law. I mean, it is what it is. But I'm not here for that. And Christians, I listen to them, and I've done many shows with them because they're some of the few that understand who the Vatican is. And I hear, I want Christian morals. Look, you can have a secular world that's morally right. Look, put me on an island where there's nobody, right? And I'll understand what's immoral and moral, what I should do and should not do. Okay, I don't need some religion or some faith telling me. So let's just put that out of the realm of discussion for this conversation. But let me just say, for background here, that the Constitution allows you to worship in any way possible, any way you want. And that was done mainly to get the Vatican in here. But anyway, you can do that, but don't make it a part of, I don't advocate any tax breaks, because here we go with the Christians, all these Christian they can get tax breaks just like the Vatican. Just so happens that the Vatican is stronger and they can get more favors from the government. And in certain places, like over 200 concordates with countries all over the world, they have written agreements that they get money from the countries. We give the Vatican an enormous amount of money. But what I'm advocating, and look, if you really look into it deeply, I, as a person, should be able to form, and I can form, my own religious organization, me being the only member. And I should be able to get the same tax break. So if everybody did that, there'd be no taxes, right? So I advocate strictly across the board. I don't care whether you're a Bible believer. I don't care whether you have an Episcopalian, you're a Protestant, you're a Jew, you're a Muslim, you're a Catholic. No tax breaks, okay? Worshipping is between you and your Maker. The rest of this stuff gets, so when you start talking Christians, you start talking, I want a Christian country. You're not in a Christian country. A country cannot be Christian or Catholic or Jewish or anything. You can be, but a country, no. And thank God you're in a country where you can do at least the little freedoms that we still have left. But I don't want it intermingled with what's going on secularly. And I think if we did that, we would be a hell of a lot better off, because we wouldn't have this intermingling and the big and rich and powerful get the advantages like the Vatican. And that's why you're seeing, if you do a study, the Vatican and the CIA are like hand in glove. And the Vatican and the FBI are like hand in glove. The Jesuits and that. I mean, this is too deep. And the reason they get more people in there, they're more powerful than the Jews and the Christians. But you bet if a Christian or a Jew got in there, it'd be the same thing. I mean, if I was a person that didn't want to recite God in school, I mean, I should have that right. Now I'm saying I could be a Bible believer, but I got to respect the guy next to me who's not. And that's where I draw the line. You want to go to a Catholic school? Fine. Study Catholicism. You want to go to an Episcopalian school? You want to be homeschooled? You can say all the prayers you want. But I don't want it intermingled with public money. Simple fact. But that doesn't happen here. And the advantage is, this is the real church and state advantage. The more you wield power, the more money you get, and the more church and state is eroded. But we have this illusion that there's a separation. And what's that principle? It's not in the Constitution, okay? The principle that government must maintain an attitude of neutrality towards religion. That's the principle. But ask yourself, does it? Now, I'm pointing out this to Protestants too. If you read that, that means you too. The First Amendment. I hear many Christians start, I believe I'm a First Amendment lover, but did they really understand this? No. Because they have the same problem as others. It's called believe me or believe nobody. Now, the First Amendment not only allows citizens the freedom to practice any religion of their choice or non-religion. I mean, there's the Church of Satan here. Okay, fine. Let them practice Satanism. It's up to them. I don't want to hear about it, though. I don't want it intermingled with public money. I don't want you to get money. The question becomes, can the Church of Satan be tax exempt? That's a good question, and I'm sure there's a number of lawsuits on that, and I remember reading one once, and it gets to be, if you really read, what I said earlier, you got to think about, if you really pare this thing down, and I did some research years ago on this subject, yes, an individual should have the right to form his own, he can form his own religious organization and be tax-free. You as the only member. And you have that same right as the huge Vatican, who gets billions of dollars of tax-free money, as well as billions of dollars of influence in business, finance, and government. But the First Amendment, officially now, listen to this. This is why there is no First Amendment in this area of the Establishment Clause, because the First Amendment, like I said, allows you to have freedom of religion, but also prevents the government from officially recognizing or favoring any religion. Now, we know that doesn't exist. We know our government favors the Vatican. Why? Well, they have official recognition of it in Washington, and if you really do a deep study, they get more money than anybody else. So, and I don't care if the guy says he's a Catholic. See, that's the big fallacy. When you start, I love these people who do research and they go, well, there's 10 Catholics in here. So now, you can be a Protestant and be a Vaticanite. You can be a papal court Jew, a papal court Christian. You think the Jesuits going to tell you what they are? Oh, we're Catholic and we're going to take over your country. No. So, where did this phrase, separation of church, start? It first came into being in 1802. President Thomas Jefferson, he said this to Baptists. He wrote a letter about it in Danbury, Connecticut, to Baptists about separation of church and state. Now, is it necessary? A wall? Let's look at it, whether it's necessary. A wall of separation between a church and state. Oh, there we go with the word wall. According to Nancy Pelosi, that's immoral. Okay? So, basically, what about the wall around their house? I mean, all these rich people, I go to Malibu sometimes. I used to go up there, and everything's gated. You got, you're 2 blocks away from one of the rich actors' houses, you get stopped by security or something, Give me a break. So, a wall of separation between church and state. This is a very strong statement and has a very clear meaning. It means that the government cannot make laws that favor one religion over the other, because it cannot make laws related to the establishment of a religion or the free exercising of religious beliefs. Now think about that. You know that doesn't exist. Laws favor certain groups, and they favor a lot when you start looking at Catholicism and the Vatican here. Look at what I was telling you about the Boston case, where the statute of limitations basically was decided by the church in Boston. So they're involved in making laws, and you would not believe the amount of canon law that's existing in our country. So it doesn't exist. Now, what I'm telling you, the reason that Christians get mad, I think, is because they can't do it. And they would do the same damn thing. And that's what I disagree with. Now, I'm not saying you can't worship what the hell you ever want to worship. Bible-believing people have the right, just as Catholics have the right in this country, to worship in the place of their choice, just as Muslims do, just as Hindus, just as anyone. You don't have to worship. But what is worship really? When it boils down to it, it's you and whoever you believe is the creator. Worshipping a religion is worshiping man. And that's not the way it should be. Because spirituality should be something more than that. Now, where a person draws his moral character comes from his childhood, I imagine. And I think we'd be a lot better off if everyone understood the separation of church and state, because you're not, unless you're going to be a nun or a priest or an Episcopalian pastor, or you're going to be one of these people. Now there's so many people with home churches. You got to understand this too. You can bring up your child any way you want, but teach them one thing, that other people have rights too, and I think we'd be a lot better off, no matter what religion you espouse to. And don't think that sometimes children aren't born with that ability to make that, to understand that at a young age, because I've seen it. And I know that there's some kids out there who are morally more correct than I ever was. Okay? And they didn't get it sometimes, I think, from a religion. I think they got it from understanding the importance of human life. And that's why it's so convoluted, this abortion issue. And the Jesuits do this for a reason. The Vatican, at the same time, comes out against abortion. I listened to a priest go on Fox News the other day. But at the same time, there's, in behind the scenes, they want to see it occur. Then there was a Jesuit priest I heard the other day for abortion. So they're playing that game. And really, when you look at it, there's satanic worshiping and killing babies in the Vatican. So what do you think they want? So that's a little bit of a background of church and state. And is there really a separation? What time we got here? I'm good. We went pretty far. Is there really a separation of church and state in this country? No. And it's not a question of eliminating just the Vatican. It's a question of understanding what this is all about. Now, if what's good for the goose is good for the gander, if they don't change it, hey, why don't you have the same tax break as the Vatican or an Episcopalian or whatever, or these crazy cults that start up? You do. You can. If you really research it, you have that right. So why not everybody get a tax break then? But I advocate none. Nobody. And I think we'd be a lot better off. With the First Amendment, do you know what year it was ratified? Oh, I still remember from law school. No, I don't. 1791. States the Congress shall make no law, like I said, respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting that. But it's not in our Constitution. Did you know the Philippines has it in their Constitution? How come the Philippines has it in theirs and we don't? 1987 Constitution of the Philippines. Get it out, Greg. The separation of church and state shall be inviolable. Article 2, Section 6 of their Constitution, and no law shall be made respecting. It's the same as ours, really. Just kidding. They have the same thing as we do. So there you go. Last question. How is religion political? And I got some questions. I want you to answer these. Is agnostic a religion? Okay. What is religious secularism? Is secular Buddhism a religion? What was the Establishment Clause written for? Should the state be separated from religion? These are questions I want you to think about this weekend. But it doesn't state in so many words that there is a separation. So imagine what good lawyers can do for the Vatican. The more money you have, the more you can basically take what Thomas Jefferson said and write that speech and wrap it up in a ball and throw it down the toilet. Because that's really what happens. And a lot of the examples I give over the years about the Jesuits prove that. Now, I don't mean don't criticize. We got to look at the beast, the Vatican, for what they're really doing. You know, if we have it the same way, of course I'd rather have a Christian in there that understands this and doesn't kill babies and do that. Yeah, of course, it's natural. But we really have to understand that if we understand this, we would see a morally, really, a country moving in the right direction. What do you think? Back Monday on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.